In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Marianne's guests are leaders in their field, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in their own work. They teach others to develop, refocus, and grow. Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. And remember, make every moment count.
Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so excited to be introducing our first guest, Rachel Harris, Dr. Rachel Harris, and she's here today to talk to us about her new book, Listening to Ayahuasca, and New Hope for Depression, Addictions, PTSD, and Anxiety. So welcome to the show, Dr. Rachel.
Thank you, Marianne. I'm happy to be here with you.
Oh, hey, it's so great to be spending this time with you. And you have, written such an informative and inspirational book. You know, I have to ask you, what inspired you to write this book?
I knew you would start there. It's a personal story.
Yeah, do you know what? We like those.
I know, but it's a little hard for me. I'm an introvert, but I really do want to say what inspired me because it's part of what's unusual about the whole experience. Yeah. And so, like many people, I want to begin with a personal story about my family. We always go back to family. And it was when I brought my dad home from the hospital when he was obviously dying. And I had him in my home for a week. And during that week, for people who have lived through this experience, his breathing became more and more labored. And it's quite an intense emotional and spiritual experience to be present while a parent is dying. And somewhere around a day or two before he died, I had this extraordinary experience where I kind of zoomed out of my body up through the house and into kind of the great unknown. Yeah. And I've had a good number of spiritual and psychic and psychedelic experiences, and this one terrified me. And I kind of checked myself to see, had I taken something I didn't know about? I mean, what was this? And it really shook me, and I had to sit down. I mean, I got so scared, I came right back into my body, and didn't continue on this cosmic journey that had been opened up for me. It was just too frightening. And I never really understood what this was about, and I asked all my sophisticated friends, the religion professors, the meditation teachers, I asked everybody, and finally I found an artist friend who said, well, you were going with your father. You were accompanying him as he was dying. And it made perfect sense to me. I mean, it just felt completely right. Mm-hmm. And then I discovered in reading that Raymond Moody, who had done all that near-death experience, a physician who, he had, during his talks to, hundreds of thousands of people would ask him about this experience, and he had never written about it. And so many people asked him about it that he developed the concept of a shared death experience, and he wrote a book about it. Mm-hmm. And so my dad died in 98 or 99, and I had my first ayahuasca experience 7 or 8 years later. And in that first experience, in a ceremony under the influence of this medicine, I relived that experience when my father was dying. Only this time, I went all the way with him. So I traveled up into those cosmic realms that I had been too frightened of years before. Mm-hmm. And it was just I don't think any other experience with the medicine has come close to this. It was a chance to relive those important moments before my dad slipped into a coma, to sit with him again, and then to travel with him in the exact same way. And it was just like a rocket ship bursting into the cosmos. And at that point where I enter the stars, I no longer exist. There is no longer an I. And so it's just this cosmic overwhelmingness. And it's very difficult to describe exactly. I mean, anybody who's had this experience understands what I'm talking about. And I really believe that many, many people in the general public have had some kind of intense spiritual experience like this. We don't talk about it in our culture. That makes it, I'm a little shy to talk about it, but I'm determined to. But people generally don't talk about this. But there was, in one of the national surveys by both big survey companies, Pew Research for one, and the other polling system, which I'm not remembering right now, about half the population says they've had some kind of mystical spiritual experience. We don't know what percentage of those people talk about it, who does, who doesn't. But these are very personal experiences. Not everybody understands them exactly. So I had this experience with my dad's death.
Yeah, I think that's becoming a little bit more mainstream. People are talking about out-of-body experiences now more than they were 10, 20, years ago. So
I think the percentage is increasing. Yeah. So this is a combination. This sort of encompasses out-of-body, a death experience, a mystical experience, and then a replay under an ayahuasca medicine, which makes it even more interesting. How does that happen?
Yeah, how does that play into everything? Well, and and so that kind of brings me to my next question, because a lot of people are like, what is that? What is this medicine she's talking about? Because even though it's been around from what I understand from reading your book, from a very, very long time, what is that whole ayahuasca thing? What is that?
Well, it's so many different things that there's no easy way to answer that. In the indigenous communities, it's clearly used as a medicine, and to open up telepathy. I mean, it's called the TV of the jungle is one of the Western phrases for it, because it does open up telepathy. And so for the indigenous community, it helps them become better hunters. They have a vision of where the animals are that they want to capture. I mean, we don't usually think like this. And also it's a purgative, and it removes parasites. So in the jungle, it serves multiple purposes. But Westerners traveling to South America and using this medicine in Western countries are mostly using it for psychospiritual healing. Which also encompasses a broad range of things. And the healing just cannot be classified, and we haven't done enough research to know exactly what the possibilities are. But the most obvious ones, and the ones that I'm most interested in, are the psychological ones, the depression, addictions, PTSD, trauma, and anxiety. And that's, when I've done research in this area, people report just sort of what I just had to call miraculous cures, because they're unexplainable. It's, with one ceremony, someone no longer suffers from major depression. From a Western point of view, we don't have any way to understand that.
Yeah. And I had read in your book even a woman who had been contemplating suicide when she went through the ceremony. She, she emerged on the other side, basically not having those tendencies and urges. Right.
And that lasted. I think she gave a follow-up report that went on for like 10 or 15 years. So usually we think, well, people are helped by the antidepressants, the psychoactive drugs from the Western pharmaceutical range. But they continue to take them. There are so many stories of one-shot healing. Somebody goes to an ayahuasca ceremony, drinks once, and no longer wants alcohol, and they've been an alcoholic. Or as you say, they're no longer suicidal. And that persists I've followed people for a decade or so. I mean, I've been at this a while. And I have long-term follow-up with, some people for 10 years. And
that was, I can easily see that you have done a lot of research into this, just with your book. I mean, it was very in-depth on this topic, and it was an easy read. It was easy to gain an understanding
I'm glad to hear
what it's all about.
Good.
Yeah, because it can be kind of a mysterious, heavy kind of topic, and then, of course, when this gets pressed, it's typically not good because while it has benefits, there's, also maybe some dark side to this as well, right?
Well, I have a chapter where I talk about the shadow side, and that's very problematic. It's difficult to know, because one of the first questions people ask in public situations, where can I get some? Which of course I'm not going to answer. But I have serious warnings about that because this medicine is considered illegal in the States, it's very difficult to find a legitimate place and way to get access to it. It's all underground, which made the research very interesting. It was very underground research.
Well, and what's interesting is that, how it's being used so widely in South America versus here in the U.S. When you were doing your research, did you find that most people to have a really good experience would have to really do it in South America?
No, I would not say that at all. It's far more complicated. It's more important that they do it wherever they do it with a legitimate shaman, with a leader.
Yeah.
In this system. So that's not the same as doing it with a trained professional, mental health professional. It's not that at all. It's really someone who is well versed in this ayahuasca culture. And that's not a Westerner who's done this for a couple of years or, traveled in South America for a few years. It's someone who has really been initiated and has a legitimate lineage in this realm. So it's not so easy.
I could imagine. And, and since this is something that has the potential to really help so many different things like PTSD, anxiety, addiction, depression, making sure that you find the right person either here or in South America that would be able to walk through this kind of journey with you is
That's
really
right.
important.
It's also difficult to figure out are you in a legitimate situation even if you're in South America. And at that point, you're pretty much out in the jungle, in the wilderness, and that makes it even more difficult. There's no real backup system for any emergencies. And you never really know what's in the brew.
Yeah.
It's very mysterious.
So that's the shadow side of that.
There's known unknowns.
Yeah. Well, and I guess, depending on where a person is at, it would really be, it's such a personal choice. It's really up to them to see if this is something that they would want to go ahead and experience, regardless of some of the potential negatives that come with that.
Yes, the potential risks. And some people experience being called, and that's an interesting phenomenon in itself. They begin to have dreams about ayahuasca or ceremonies. They begin to feel called in some way. And that's part of what moves some people to pursue this. I had a very interesting experience where someone reported feeling nauseous for days on end. He had just heard about this medicine from a friend, and he immediately became nauseous, and it went on for days, and he wasn't sick at all. And, in talking with him, we sort of understood that this was part of his calling, that he felt called. And as soon as he kind of understood it that way, the queasiness left him. And he did pursue an underground way to find the medicine.
So when you had your first experience, was it how did you go about finding the right practitioner? Were there parts of it that just terrified you? Did you really know that, hey, I have to do this?
Well, I didn't really, as much as I've spent my whole life encouraging people to become more conscious, this is not a conscious decision. I have to admit. Yeah, it's a little embarrassing. I had a friend who was doing a workshop in Costa Rica. No mention of medicine, or it was a psychological sort of workshop, and she wanted to tell me about this workshop space because I was leading workshops at the time. And so I thought, well, this sounds great. It's in a remote, beautiful, natural area on the beach. I was living in New Jersey. It was February. Why wouldn't I want to go to a beachfront retreat?
Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Exactly. I thought it was a great plan. And then I get a phone call from the person organizing the travel arrangements, which were quite extensive because this was in a very remote area of Costa Rica. And she says to me, do you want to participate in the ceremony? And I brilliantly say, what are you talking about? I had no idea. There were clues in the write-up, but I didn't know. I missed them completely. I didn't really know about this. And so that's how I stumbled onto it, actually. And yes, it is. I think everyone, well, I hate to say everyone, but many, many people feel nervous before a ceremony. It's quite a journey to take, and there's often some anxiety as you enter into that space. It's a challenging experience.
Yeah, I could imagine, because it's, again, you don't know what's in the brew. Could be having a great experience that we get a lot of information, and could be something that, could be potentially dangerous. It just kind of depends on how everything is set up. So I know in your book you talk about visions during the ceremony. How does that play a part?
There's a whole range of visions. But from a psychological point of view, what I'm most interested in are people sometimes see home movies of their childhood. So they have that sense of, yes, I mean, it's remarkable, isn't it? And please don't ask me to explain how it works. But they see, scenes from their childhood, and I've seen this too, where you get to watch like an observer and see the scene, and so you get to think about that scene with objectivity and a mature brain. You're no longer a child. And, for instance, I saw a scene with my mother, and I got to see how, really have compassion for my mother being exhausted with childcare. So, I've been a mom. I've been there. I understand that. And that's quite a different perspective than being the child in the scene. So home movies is one version of visions psychologically. The other one is when you are in the experience as a child, reliving it. So that's more of a direct cathartic experience of being in that situation again and experiencing everything just as you felt as a child and going through it again. So those are two different visionary experiences that allow for a review of childhood, which as a therapist, of course, is a major interest of mine. I mean, this is either way, it's a great opportunity.
Great opportunity for potential healing and moving beyond all that. Now, let's say there's someone who has PSTD and then they go through this ceremony. What are some of the things that you've seen?
Well, they also can fit into either category, and either category would be healing. What's really unique about this medicine is that similar to reliving a traumatic experience in a therapeutic office, in a therapeutic setting with a therapist, where you have someone right there with you, so that you're not alone in the trauma, you're not helpless, you've got help right there. So in that sort of similar sense, if you're reliving a traumatic experience under the influence, you have the help of the medicine. Whether you perceive that as grandmother ayahuasca, a plant spirit, or just the medicine itself, there's a sense that you're not alone, you're not helpless, that you're reliving it in a safe setting with help right there. And that's very difficult to explain what that feels like to someone who hasn't been in a ceremony. But there is this sense that you're not alone. So that would be if it's a reliving of an experience. If you're watching the trauma occur and you have that distance, that's a different therapeutic process where you can watch from a safe distance and be objective about what happened. You're not in the experience, but you're watching it. And that opens up a more objective perspective on the trauma, where you're no longer completely caught in it, but can look at it.
Okay.
And these are ways that you can work through a trauma. And because the medicine is such a physical experience, whether you're watching or reliving, you're physically involved as well. And most trauma needs to be worked on physically as well as cognitively.
Oh, I did not know that.
There's a wonderful quote I have in the book about how trauma is really laid in the body. And so there has to be a body experience and a body healing as well as a cognitive one.
Well, let's say someone says, okay, read your book, love it, and I feel like I need to have this experience. Do you do trips to South America? Do you?
No.
No. Okay, so
no. I'm not for information. Anything.
Okay. So this is the book. It's just giving information. It's not meant to treat or give any medical advice. It's just talking about in regards to how this ceremony has helped some people, and it's just for informational purposes.
That's correct. And it's really a plea for the opportunity for more research to occur. And this is a very difficult topic to research. But I'm hoping that someday there will be more research about it in the States.
Oh, for sure.
So it's really
everything
that it
does,
as well.
With everything it does, because it takes so many years for doing research studies, it would be something that would be great that kind of gets started so people can start to see what the benefits, the negatives are in regards to this, because it seems to help so much.
So the purpose of all the first-person reports is sort of bottom-up information. It's not coming from the Federal Drug Administration down about this is a helpful drug for you, like we have commercials on TV. But this is from the ground level up, saying, I have found this medicine to be very helpful. It's worth taking a look at. And so that's one purpose of my work in this area. And the other purpose is really to help people who are thinking about exploring ayahuasca for themselves. The book gives them lots of ways to consider what a ceremony might be, what precautions they should take, how to think about it, and then how to integrate the experience afterwards. And that's been a real focus of mine in the previous research I've done and in this book. You have this amazing experience. How do you integrate it? What difference does it make in your life? How does it change you? Is your behavior changed, or do you just have this great spiritual experience? What happens afterward? And that's a real focus in the book as well, and a way that I hope the book will help people.
Well, I think that's great because there are a lot of people that do make the trip. I mean, it's easy to, in doing my research, just in regards to your book and more information on this, it's really easy to find a lot of videos out there of people talking about their experiences. But, what happens on the other side of this? And from a Westerner's point of view, I think your book is very well written, and it makes it really easy for people to understand, like some of the possibilities there for them.
Right. And the continued integration of the experience is an important part of the healing. Mm-hmm. And I want people to have a way to continue that process.
Well,
so there's also help in the book for therapists working with people who are using ayahuasca, for the therapist to kind of know how to work with these spiritual experiences. And hopefully they have experience of their own, but just in case they don't, it gives them a model for working with people who are traveling in these realms.
Well, that's very invaluable information, because there are so many people that are doing this. It's good to have that information on what to expect if the therapist hasn't had these kind of experiences,
Right.
It's a very fascinating book, I have to tell you. I was really, I have not done this, and I was reading this going, wow, I did not know that these ceremonies did this.
Right. And there are different kinds of, there are different legitimacies of ceremonies. There was an article in the New Yorker where the author went to some ceremony that was held, I think, in Brooklyn next to a bar. So she heard, the music from the bar was filtering into the ceremony, and the person leading the ceremony was sort of a yoga instructor, with a little experience. So it was not the best circumstances, and that
sounds dangerous.
So there are different ranges of ceremonies and experiences, and I really encourage people to choose wisely.
I would agree with you on that. Dr. Rachel, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here today. What a joy it's been to spend this time with you.
Well, I appreciate being included. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And before we go, where can our listeners connect with you? What's your website?
The website is the title of the book, listeningtoayahuasca.com.
Oh, perfect. Well, it's easy to connect with you there. Highly suggest that everyone sign up for your newsletter, join your community on Facebook, and of course, go out and purchase the book. So we're going to pause here for a quick break, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
There comes a moment when you realize you're somewhere special, when you discover that each beautiful creature that you see has been rescued from a life of absolute horror and brought to this incredibly free place. Here's where their lives were forever changed, and where yours will as well. Discover over 500 tigers, bears, and lions at the brand new visitor center at the Wild Animal Sanctuary just outside Denver. For more information, visit wildanimalsanctuary.org. Discover true freedom at the Wild Animal Sanctuary.
I know we are unlimited, not only because I healed myself of chronic disease in only 3 weeks, but because I know what has helped thousands of my clients transform their own lives. My book, A Short Path to Change, 30 Ways to Transform Your Life, offers 30 easy and quick tools you can use to help transform any aspect of your life. Visit and subscribe to my site, JennyMannion.com, JennyMannion.com, for free gifts, including a guided healing meditation and the first chapter of my book. I look forward to offering you easy ways to help you get clear for the new year.
Have you ever had the sense that your thoughts might actually be doing something? Ancient secrets of manifesting have been masterfully revealed in the award-winning book Manifesting 123 by Ken Elliott. For the first time, the author's experiences and stories in this book describe exactly how your thoughts can create anything. You've been doing this all your life, but it's never been fully explained for you until now. Visit manifesting123.com for more information today. Manifesting123.com. Ben Wexler is a gifted leadership development and strategy consultant for professionals who want to transform their organizations and careers. Through a uniquely personalized set of processes, participants discover their unique knowledge, how to leverage that knowledge and experience, and then put it all together with a global strategy. You're more valuable, your organization is more valuable, and the change is viral. Contact Ben at 630-881-1074, 630-881-1074.
Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I am so excited to be introducing our next guest, Stacey Blanchet, and she's here today to talk to us about moving forward in life.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, it's such a joy to have you here. Now, I know you're kind of like this go-to woman that has made some really big life changes, and why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Well, I'd like to say it in one sentence. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a film producer. I'm an author. I'm a fashion designer. And I'm a senior editor of a magazine called Trend Prive.
Ooh. So you wear a lot of different hats there.
I do. Every day is something very different, let me tell you.
I bet. That keeps you hopping around. Well, and I know with all this great stuff that you do, you had a career change in your 40s.
I did. I actually had a friend of mine who was passing away of ovarian cancer, and she was very dear to me for about 35 years. And what she said was it was time for me to go for my dream. And I hadn't thought about it. My dream was to be a fashion designer. And so she said, have one fashion show and get it out of your system and move on, but at least make the attempt to actually do something that you've always wanted to do. And that was the career change that I made.
Yeah. And what great advice, because a lot of times people go through their entire lifetime wishing that they had done some things, and it sounds like you're getting all that crossed off your list.
Yeah, my bucket list. Well, the great thing I always say the great thing about going after your dreams is sometimes you find out that you don't want that dream anymore and other dreams end up showing up in its place. So I've been very fortunate to be able to go for my dreams, but in the process of going for my dreams, I've been handed all kinds of new dreams of things that I never would have imagined, couldn't have even imagined happened to me, and then just bringing so many wonderful opportunities and people. I mean, just really people. I went from playing on a local stage to playing on a global stage in less than 4 years, and that's really been a life-altering thing for me.
I bet. Well, and it takes a lot. I mean, most people, if they go and they chase their dreams, and I liked how you put that if you try something, you might not, you have as a goal or a dream, you may get into it and go, ooh, I really didn't like this anyway. I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut. But probably right now is not something that I would want to do.
Wow, that would be a great dream, wouldn't it, to be an astronaut?
I just wanted them to come and talk. I was like, I want to do that, and I'm sure it changed like 4 or 5 times.
I mean, just think about, there's so few people on this planet that ever get to have that dream. I mean, that is such a small group of people that get to achieve to be in space. Wow.
Yeah, well, it is now. I hear Elon Musk has, they've got a couple people that have purchased a ticket to fly around the moon, and that's going to happen next year. So I think things are changing with that. I mean, maybe I can go without the full commitment, you know?
See? Your dream is coming alive.
It's coming together. So when you decided that, hey, this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to get into fashion design, did you have a game plan, and how did that go right away?
I actually did not have a game plan, and that was unlike me because I'm usually very controlled. Mm-hmm. And my first fashion show was an absolute disaster. The audience did not know it, but I did. I knew everything that was wrong with the fashion show and all the things that was going wrong behind the scenes. And I was so just taken aback by that experience. I couldn't get off the couch for like 4 or 5 days. I was just beside myself.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine came to me and said, "You've got to do another one." And I thought, "Are you crazy? Did you not just see what happened to me?" And
you're like, "Are you out of your mind?"
Yeah. And I actually think that had I not listened to her
mm-hmm.
and dove straight into a second fashion show 8 months later, that everything that's happened in my life now would not have happened. I would have given up, stopped there, and then just gone back to the life that I had.
What were you doing at the time? What were you doing at the time before you started to get into the fashion design?
I have a company called Your Own Girl Friday, and I still have that company.
Oh yeah, I heard that company.
Yeah, I've never gotten rid of my business because I always felt I needed to make a living while I was pursuing my dreams. So
imagine that,
I always, it was like, it's kind of a smart thing to do.
It's very smart. You have a lot of business savvy because I used to train people in insurance, and if they would show up and have like a part-time job, I would tell them, keep that because you need to have money coming in. So I totally get that. Yeah.
Well, and also one of the things that I found being in the fashion industry, was that a lot of people in the fashion industry are pursuing their dreams, and their dreams are funding their lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And the trick with that for me in watching this, because I kept to my job, so I was never in the position that a lot of these other people were in where I was having to make decisions in survival mode, what I call.
Yeah,
I was able
to
take the time. Yeah, it's the worst. And I was able to take the time, figure out my plans, say yes or no to certain things, and allow my dream to evolve. And it just took me in different directions all the time. I mean, because of the fashion designing, my second fashion show got national attention. And right then and there, I was, I'll let you in on a little secret. I think outside of the box, I decided to place an ad on Craigslist. And I said that anyone who was walking a red carpet during the four big award shows, which was the Emmys, the Oscars, the Grammys, and the SAG, I would custom design a dress for you.
That is pretty cool. I put that out a year in advance. So do the celebrities look at Craigslist?
You would. Well, actually, what that caught the attention of was the producers of the Emmys. And the producers of the Emmys, one of the producers saw it, decided to find out who I was, and I attached my website to the ad on Craigslist, so they were able to follow me. And then they went and checked out my social media, and they watched me for about 3 or 4 months before they contacted me, wanting to see what kind of a person I was. What did I post on social media? How did I talk? How did I present myself? The designs. And when they got what they wanted to get out of it, that's when they contacted me. And that's what started. They recommended me for other jobs in Hollywood that I didn't take. They it opened up more doors. They were actually extremely generous in allowing me to attend the Emmys as well and bring a couple of my models with me wearing Blanchet designs.
Fun.
The models have a great time. They still go to every year. They still do this every year. I stopped about 2 years ago. I had enough.
It's a lot of work. That is a lot of work, especially if you're making custom, one-of-a-kind pieces too.
Mhm. And it's a lot of work to get ready for the Emmys. When you're on TV, you got to get up at 6. You do your makeup, you do your hair. You got to find a dress, and it's a long day. It's a long day in LA, and it's just I don't live in LA, so it's hotel, it's all kinds of things, and it was fun for the first couple of times that I went to the Emmys, and it was an experience. I met some really wonderful, wonderful actors and actresses. I have nothing but kind words to say about my experiences being in Hollywood at the Emmys and the Oscars and the Grammys. These people just couldn't have been nicer to me. Could not have been nicer.
That must have been it really is just a once-in-a-lifetime experience, especially being able to be involved in the Emmys at that level. That's pretty cool. Now, I know that you got to a point where you had to do some letting go just to be able to open up for this opportunity. And I know you talk about the benefits of letting go.
Well, letting go for me is really letting go of control and not being in charge of my destiny. One of the things that happened with the fashion designing is that it started to get so crazy with every opportunity that was coming at me. I was saying yes to it because that's really my motto is say yes and then learn how to do it if you don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And it got to where I was so physically and mentally exhausted that I had to sort of let go of what I was doing and change my behaviors, change my staff, change the people that I had around me. And one of the things that happens, and this has just been my experience in the fashion industry for designers, because I know multiple designers, is that it takes and takes and takes from you, but you never get anything back for it. There's no replenishing you.
Yeah.
And that happens to more designers than I know. I mean, it's one of the things that I talk to the designers, and I've witnessed it over the years, and it just leaves you very empty. And it's a lot of noise. It's a lot of people wanting to have a really good time on your dime, so to speak. And so I just really had to stop, and I did that after the Oscars. I stopped, took a month away from it to really kind of focus in on what was it that I did want out of this? Do I really want to be a fashion designer anymore? Is this really still my dream? And an opportunity came up for me to go to Paris Fashion Week in July.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, a couple years ago. I went, and my dream changed. I realized it wasn't what I wanted anymore.
Was it because it was just such an intense environment? What was it that when you were there that kind of made you go, gosh, this has been great, but I think I want to refocus?
I'm not talented enough.
Oh, I don't believe that.
You know what? I have so much respect for designers and the process and the whole fashion design industry. I'm a big fan of it. I'm a big fan of the designers. And when I was in Paris and I got a chance to witness it up close, what it takes to be at that level, I realized I was never going to be there. And that's not a bad thing. It was a hard thing because I'm sitting in front row. I'm living my dream. I'm at Paris Fashion Week, but I'm losing my dream at the same time.
That's a little heartbreaking, you're like there, you're excited at the same time.
Yeah,
like,
it is. Let me tell you, to be dreaming about something for 20-something years and then realize you're not going to get that dream, it's heartbreaking. But my personality is such that I thought to myself, okay, that's not going to be my dream, but how can I make another dream out of what I want to do? And that's really where the magazine business came into play. And
so that's what you pivoted to? Was,
I pivoted
from
to
you.
the fashion magazine area. Mm-hmm.
Good for you. Good for you.
Just figured it out. You know, yeah, it's just great that, and also too, it was leaving myself open to saying, okay, I don't have to have this figured out right now.
Yeah.
I can let this play out for as long as it needs to play out. I just know that I'm never going to be a Paris designer, and that's what I always wanted to be. And it wasn't, I'd say talent, because these guys are, I mean, just way beyond talent. But they lived and breathed it, and I knew that that really wasn't where I wanted my focus to be anymore. I don't want my whole life to be fashion design. I have too many other interests. And in order to be a Paris designer, that has to be your entire life and thought process. And so I realized it. And I think it's almost the same for any business that you go into. If you own a business, it has to be your life. And I just think that it was heartbreaking, but at the same time, it was kind of liberating. And I chose to figure out a way to make it work for me.
Now, in chasing this dream of fashion design, which, I mean, you had the opportunity that most people will never have in their lifetime, and that's kudos to you. You obviously were very good to get to where you got with that. Was there a point that you, afterwards, kind of reflecting and looking back, that you said, gosh, you know, if I could do it all over again, I would have done something different?
Wow. You know, I don't know that I would say, there's only one thing that I would do different in my life if I had a chance to do it all over again, and I'd have to go all the way back to when I was 21, and I would have stayed in New York and finished. I would have stayed in New York with the fashion designing schooling and really gone for it back then. I don't know if I'd do anything different in my 40s. But at the time,
I understand that. I mean, I can completely understand that, because if you stick, if you take one path and it leads you in a completely different way, if you stayed in New York, and followed fashion design, who knows where that would have taken you?
Yeah.
But at the same time,
I could have been washed up by 28.
It's a tough industry, I know. And here you started where most people are just already out of it,
Mhm. And they are out of it. I mean, it's so, and the thing about it is that I think that where most people have gotten a little confused, and this is just business 101, is that social media is going to do everything for you. And so you see a lot of these custom designers coming out, and, they'll post a picture of a dress, and they're going to hope 100 people are going to order it, but they never really think about how they're going to make it for 100 people if you're custom designing. There's not a real thought process, and really the only way you're making money in designing is if you're in manufacturing, if you're in retail, if you can have an e-commerce site, but it comes back to the basics. You've got to have a good couple $100,000 to start. You're going to get some investors at some point, so you need to know how to do investment, work with investors. You're going to lose your name somewhere down the road. All designers do, because the investors take your name when they purchase any kind of a loan with you or invest in you. The first thing they do is they take your name. So you need to know that you really do need to know the basics of business. It doesn't change. And whether it's a glamorous business of design or it's opening up a shop, it's still the same. You need to know accounting. You need to know how to do investments. And I think I sort of lost sight of that. I didn't pay attention to that part of it, and I was already 2.5 years into it, and that's when it started hitting me like, oh my God, I really didn't go the right way with this. That would be my one regret, was I should have started as a business and not as a hobby.
Yeah, and that's so tough for people who are so creative, because their brain is just not wired that way. It's like you kind of are in both worlds at the same time there, because you've got, these other businesses that you have that are very successful, and at the same time, you've got, being able to kind of pivot from doing this very creative enterprise that you were doing. I mean, most people don't understand how you really have to have both set up. You can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to create and then worry about the business later.
Yeah. No. I know designers who have done that. I've watched it. I mean, I get so many calls. And one of the things that just happened for me recently, which is going to be a dream come true, and it hasn't happened yet, but I don't mind sharing it, is that a designer from Paris has contacted me wanting me to do the marketing and PR for her design firm coming to the United States. So, yeah, I'm going to get my dream, but in a different way.
Good for you. So,
yeah, you never know. I mean, like I said, here's 2 years later. I met her 2 years ago when I was in Paris. She's always remembered me, and we've stayed in contact through Facebook. And I told her, I said, why aren't you in the United States? I mean, why aren't you in the United States? And she said, I don't know. I just don't know how to do it. That began the conversations and my ideas and what she should do. And so my business background came into play. And maybe that's my dream just turned into a different dream. I may not be designing the clothes, but it's a Paris designer, and I'm going to be helping her. So it's like,
well, congratulations!
Like, oh my God! Wow.
That's very exciting. It's very exciting news. And so it's great because you get to pursue your dream in another way, but also that supports you in doing what you're here to do.
And I love it. I know it. I have respect for it. I know the process of it. I know the manufacturing and the retail side of it. So it's not just me stepping in going, hey, I can do this. It's me actually knowing what I'm doing and being able, and them trusting me that I know what I'm doing, how I presented myself to her, how we've talked. And everything happens. It comes full circle at some point. And you just have to be ready for the moment. And I'm ready for the moment.
You are ready for the moment.
Yes.
It comes up, you're ready to take it and run with it.
I am. I'm ready to take it and run with it. And so now I have another dream. It's like once these dreams come, I think to myself, why couldn't I live half my life in Paris and half my life here in the United States? That's like my other little... My God, if that were to happen, you can kill me now.
It sounds like that actually might be what's happening.
Yeah, just like, wow, that would be exceeding. Wow, there's just no words for that. That is my main
ultimate dream.
Ultimate dream would be able to live half my life in Paris. Yeah,
I think that would be fabulous. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And the thing that's interesting, when I look back at my life, and I started off in the medical field, and which was really poor career choice considering blood makes me pass out.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh yeah, I'll do this, and like, oh, I can't do this. And so I worked for some time there, and eventually became an insurance agent. Was very successful in insurance, and then got into marketing and publicity because it's sales is sales is sales is sales. And it's really interesting. I look back on my life past. There was really no straight line that led me to where I'm at today. But I wouldn't change a thing, it was all great experiences, even the not so great experiences, and it all gets us that, that knowledge and that wisdom that brings us to where we are, where we can provide people with just a greater understanding when they have problems or issues that come up.
Well, and one of the best lines I ever heard, it was in a movie called Dan in Real Life, and at the end of it he says, what we can tell our younger audience is plan to be surprised in life. Life plans. And I just, you look back, there was no straight line. Man, did I make some whopper mistakes? Of course I did. But at the same time, and I'm still going to make mistakes. I'm sure I'm not done yet. And,
that's part of the fun,
Yeah, there's nothing you can really do about it. It's just one of those things that you just have to, it's how you take the mistakes. It's owning up to them or admitting that you've made them and hopefully you'll learn from them and move on. It's when you keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. That's when you're really, something's not jiving right at that point.
Yeah, I think that's just, what is that Einstein thing? It's like doing the same thing, expecting different results is like some form of insanity. You know,
it is.
Sorry, I just butchered that one, but you know what I mean. So, you know, it's like you do it over and over again, and you expect something different to happen. It's not. Then it's like, okay, we need to reassess all this.
Yes.
So where do you see? I mean, gosh, that's such great, news with working with this designer from Paris. What else do you have in the hopper? Because I know, I could see that you've got plans going from here. So if we're going to dream and pivot, I'm sure you have some other dreams that you have, probably like how you're saying, probably being in Paris.
Well, a friend of mine about a year and a half ago told me, if she said, Stacey, if you ever decided to move to Hollywood and have a PR firm, she goes, you would be so busy, you wouldn't know what hit you.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I thought about, I thought about that for a long time because, with Your Own Girl Friday, I know how to do marketing and PR. And so one of the things that my dream, I decided if I was going to do PR marketing for Your Own Girl Friday was I wanted to leave good footprints behind. So I started looking at the type of people that were coming into my life and asking me to do PR marketing for them and putting it out there that I wanted to represent things where I knew there was going to be a legacy left behind of something. And it's not a legacy of me, but it's helping me, somebody, leave a legacy behind. So it's easy for me to believe in it, promote it, think outside the box about it, get other people really excited about being a part of this journey, and it has to have meaning to it. And I am just really, of course, my ultimate dream, like I said, would be to live half my life in the United States and half my life in Paris. I still have it in the back of my mind not to give up on my dream of designing clothes. So that still stays there. That may change in a year. Something may happen to me. Somebody may come into my life. I may partner with another designer and decide to do something.
Or maybe this designer looks at your, your designs and goes, hey, add a little thing here and a thing there, and let's go.
Yeah, it's just, I just try to make sure that with my dreams now, that I leave myself open to allow a dream to come to me.
Well, Stacey, I so appreciate you taking the time to be with us here today.
If someone wants to learn more about your journey, where can they connect with you?
My website is www.yourowngirlfriday.com, and that is where my business, the people that I represent, the people that are leaving great legacy behind, the Women's Museum, the Lions, Tigers, and Bears, and I just took on a new client that's spreading kindness through TED Talks. Just really interesting stuff. And then my personal website is StaceyBlanchet.com, where they can find out about me.
Well, thank you so much, Stacey. We appreciate you taking the time to be on the show with us today.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me.
I would like to thank everyone for taking the time to tune in today. It's been such a joy to have you here for this show. Feel free to email me with any questions you have at Marianne@MariannePastana.com. You can also look up the show schedule at momentswithmarianne.com. So thank you for taking the time to be with us here today. And remember, make every moment count.
Join us next time for Moments with Marianne, when host Marianne Pastana brings another inspirational gifted leader to help us grow. Tune in every second Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Moments with Marianne, when the Dream Vision 7 radio network is at 1510 a.m. Boston. Or catch Moments with Marianne every Thursday and Friday at 5 p.m. and 5 a.m. Eastern Time by going to dreamvision7radio.com. To learn how Marianne started her business from the ground up, visit mariannepastana.com. Don't miss this, and remember, make every moment count.